Hey guys, Music Elias here today, and I'm back with another video. Now today's video we're going to be reviewing Black Veil Bride's first album, We Stitch These Wounds, and their redone version. Now, I've been going on a little bit of a Black Veil Bride's journey. I finished the entire album, I think on Friday, on Friday, and I was going to drop this out on that day, but my lighting was terrible. Luckily, I have gotten the ring light, so the lighting shouldn't be an issue anymore. I should have that fixed, so I can pretty much film at any time around the day because now I have that problem fixed, so I'm happy about that. But let's get into the review itself. This album was quite interesting since I was doing basically two of them and they both had they were both the same. It was just, the newer one had different stuff in it. So I'm going to be going through a couple of the songs. Their first song, We Stitch These Wounds, actually was a pretty enjoyable song. It was nothing too crazy, but it was a pretty good song. Beautiful Remains, I actually really like that one. That one's a really good song. I think the vibe of it, especially the whole older it felt like an early 2000s song. I mentioned that multiple times in that video. It reminded me of SmackDown vs. Raw 2005 or 2006. I really like that. Children Surrender, I wasn't that big of a fan of, but it was okay. It was an okay song. Perfect Weapon, I think that one song was okay. If I'm being honest, Knives and Pens, even though that was one of the only songs on this album that had an actual music video, and that was very big, I personally didn't like it too much. I wasn't a really big fan of it, even though it's pretty much the most popular song or favorite song on this album. I really didn't like it. Now for my actual favorite song on this album, The Mortician's Daughter, I really like this because the other songs, they were good, some of them, but I felt like they were very kind of formulaic. They were staying in a more stagnant pattern, because the majority of those other songs, even though it wasn't that many into the album at that point, most of them were just like, it was like, if it gave me the early 2000s, vibe of, rock music, which I love, and that's my favorite genre of music, but I felt like it was just getting repetitive and I wanted something different stylistically. Luckily, this song was a lot different. It was a lot more, somber. It was a lot more, personal. It was a love song. It was more emotional, and I really liked that. I thought it was really great. It just sounds very nice. It's very, aesthetically pleasing to me to hear. So I really like that about the song. Heaven's Calling was also a pretty good song. I really enjoyed that one. That one was pretty good. Never Given, I think that was okay, but after that we got like Sweet Blasphemy. I really liked that song. I thought that song was it was an amazing song. And then Caroline, Never Given, sorry, Heaven's Calling, I think that was okay. But I actually didn't even like Heaven's Calling, if I'm being honest. Never Give In, really enjoyed that song, but Sweet Blasphemy I really, really liked. And Caroline, the last song on this album, if I'm being honest, it just wasn't for me. It had some parts that I liked, but the instrumentals for me just didn't go well. It was kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. It sounded like, a southern square dance song of that's the right way to, describe it. I just didn't really like it too much. But the redone version basically was like the original with just a couple of changes here and there, except for one song in particular, which I forgot. If you guys watch my music review, I'll check it again because I have the songs on my phone right here. I forgot which one it was, but he was singing, he changed up his voice and he sounded more deeper. I was talking about there's an apocalypse and it felt like a zombie apocalypse. That was a Never Given. That one was, that one I liked the newer version a lot better. The original was great, but the newer version, it was just so much better. And the best way I can describe the newer album is, for me, I consider it more of an epic version of the original. It's more of an epic, more polished, more clean 2.0 version of the original, and it had a lot of songs better. I think the only song on that album that I didn't like more than the original was the Mortician's Daughter, because in the original they had nice singing with it. They also had nice instrumentals, And in the newer one, they had like a nice instrumentals and it was like an orchestra and stuff. But the problem was there was no singing in it. And I know the reasoning why now, because you guys explained to me, it was because, at that time he was dating somebody else and then they broke up and now he's married and he felt like it would be disrespectful to his wife, which I respect that. But personally, that doesn't change the fact that I would have preferred to have lyrics in the song. So it did kind of, ruin that one for me. Like the instrumentals were nice, but I just wanted to hear his voice. It kind of disappointed me on that front. And the songs that I didn't like on this album, I didn't like them on the original either. It just feels like that there was nothing they could have done to fix it up. But even with that being said, I feel like a lot of times when it comes to what's the thing called? When it came to the newer version, they didn't really change too much. So I'll give them, I think that's kind of a little bit of a problem for me personally. Like, if you're going to redo it, it's fine if you want to keep the old style of the song intact. But there's still some smart and strategic ways to make your new album and newer versions of these songs, even keeping the same old style, but keep it more fresh and stuff. And I feel like it was very, very, it was very basic on what they changed. Like the instrumentals and the vocals were better, but that was just because their technique has gotten better, over through time, which naturally it should be. But the newer versions didn't sound like anything crazier. It just sounded like the same song, but just a little more updated. Which, like I said, it does make it better. But if there's a song on the original album that I didn't like, and if you just make it a little bit better, it's not gonna change my opinion from, oh, I don't like it, to, oh, it's good. It's just gonna be like, oh, it used to be okay. It used to be kind of bad. Now it's okay. But yeah, I still do like the newer version more than the original. But I do see the original having a lot of a lot of nostalgia behind it, and I can see why a lot of people would choose to either prefer to listen to the older style of music compared to the newer redone version. But I just like the redone version a lot better. Like I said, the instrumentals and the production value is shot up through the roof. The only song that I would say that on the original I'll choose over the newer one would be The Mortician's Daughter, and that's just because it had vocals in it. So yeah, this album was quite interesting. It didn't blow my mind too much. I think it was okay, but it was their first album, so it was pretty good, especially since a lot of the songs were written when he was 18 and even before that when he was 16. I think that it's actually pretty good for a person of that age. I just think in general, I think it's an average to mid-level like album, but for somebody at that age and to be constructing music, I think it is still pretty good and top tier. But for me personally, I'll give this a rating of like 7, maybe 7.5. Actually, I'll give it like a 7 for the original album, and maybe 7.5 to 8 for the newer version. Because the original, like I said, a lot of the songs didn't catch my attention, but when I was listening to it yesterday and, re-listening to it, some of the songs I actually caught myself, really enjoying it. I was either, bobbing my head to it or dancing to it. So I was like, wow, they had some really good songs in this first album, and it just made me more excited to see, their future albums and what they do with it, later on in their career. So yeah, I think it was a solid start off in their career. It wasn't anything too spectacular as a starting album, but it wasn't a god awful album, because I know there's a lot of artists or bands that their first album was like a complete dud, or just they just didn't have their style right. This one I can see that they're trying to get into the groove, but it's not completely bad, and it does give me a nice nostalgic vibe to it, to be honest. So yeah, this album was decent, 7, and the newer version 7.5 to 8, a little bit better than the original, but most of the songs weren't that much different except for Never Give Up. That was the only one, or Never Give In, I think it was called, because that one was the only one where they actually not completely changed it, but he did something unique with his vocals that made it feel much, a lot more special. So that's what I really liked about that. So yeah, that's it for this first review of Black Veil Bride's first and redone album. When I do get back to it, because I am trying to finish, because I just started my, what's the thing called? Yeah, I finished it not on Friday. I finished it on Wednesday, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. But I'm going to try to finish my Citizen Soldier album. I'm going to do the album review for that one. Luckily, there's only 5 songs, and I already listened to one of them first. So I only had 4, and then I listened to 1. So I only got 3 left for that one. So once I'm done with that, I'll be back onto the second album of Black Veil Bride. And I can't wait to see how they change it up and then do a review on that. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and stay tuned for next time.